For today's review, I'll be talking about Dark Skies. This is a fairly recent movie. It came out in 2013. It's about a family that begins to realize they may be being visited by alien species late at night, and all the creepy stuff that happens. It opens with a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, of course, the famous writer who brought us 2001: A Space Odyssey, among other things, that there are two possibilities. Either we are alone in the universe or we're not, and both are equally terrifying. I'd agree with that. Definitely alien kind of stuff always creeps me out. Ever since I was a kid, seeing fire in the sky and being traumatized by it, I'm always on the lookout for like a really good kind of creepy alien related type of movie, and not like on a huge scale, like Independence Day blowing up the White House, or even like the faculty taking over the school, or even Body Snatchers, like where they're like taking over the whole world. This is something a little bit smaller and creepier and more like an intimate kind of story, which I think Dark Skies is, and I think this is an effectively and very creepy horror movie that really, really gets the job done and really delivers the good and the chills, really. I think it has to do a lot with kind of the legitimacy that's brought to the story. It's a well-made movie. It's a good-looking movie, competently made, with good acting. We have Kerry Russell in the lead role, and Josh Hamilton. They're playing the mother and father of this family, both really good, and much like in these sort of types of movies, it's a family under duress, so they're going through a little bit of hard times money-wise. The mother, Kerry Russell, she's a real estate agent, and she's kind of maybe a little bit too honest for her own good, so she's having trouble selling houses and things like that, just like a little bit too candid with her clientele, basically, because she has too much of a conscience and doesn't want to kind of sell them crappy houses that aren't good enough for them, things like that. The father, I think he's like an architect, maybe, I don't know, but he's out of the job, and he's like constantly, on the lookout. He's going to interviews, and they show this one interview scene that's just really good. That's like a really kind of daunting scene where it's like this huge, boardroom kind of table where you don't even see the people interviewing him, but you just see him looking so small in the desk, or like sitting at the end of the desk, and he's like kind of like so belittled and that kind of stuff. They're struggling, and their kids, their kids sense something that's wrong, of course. Particularly, they have two sons. One's I think 5, the other is 13. So the 13-year-old, of course, going through puberty. He's having a hard time enough, of course, any 13-year-old would at that age, but, they sense something's wrong and things like that. And what I do like about it, they focus on the parents who give, Kerry Russell, Josh Hamilton, they give really good performances, and the kid, I think the kid's name is, I have to look, Dakota Goyd, I think, maybe is his name. I don't know. I'm not sure, but he's really good, the kid. Whatever his name is, whatever the actor's name is, I'm sure he's done a little bit more since this movie, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come because he gives a good performance. And they, devote a fair amount of screen time to him, which I think is good, showing him, struggling with the kind of 13-year-old kind of stuff, like girls, and has an older friend that's maybe a bad influence, and that all kind of comes into play. With kind of the larger aspect of thing, which is basically creepy things are happening at night. First, it's a little bit sort of innocent. The fridge is raided, and then like in like a poltergeist type scene, like all the furniture is rearranged, but like there's like metallic items that like when reflected on the light, you can see they like arrange these patterns, like almost like you'd see in like crop circles. So I think that's pretty good and pretty creepy. And then things get weirder and weirder and weirder. The alarms go off, and every single sensor is tripped. They call the security company, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "We don't know." And then all birds start crashing into the house and things like that. So it feels like this movie gets it, like in terms of like what's scary, what's very unnerving about this type of alien activity that kind of may or may not actually be affecting people. Like it feels like it could be based on real life accounts. I don't. Well, I doubt this movie is. If it is, it's embellished like to the max. But you feel like it is comes from a place where they've taken real accounts and adapted into this type of movie and combined it all to make something very, very creepy. And they are very successful in doing so. So there's a lot of scenes that are very tense. Kerry Russell, braless, is walking around the house, and investigating, creepy things, and all that's really good. And the kids have strange markings on them, and the father seems like he's kind of losing it, with the job stress, not being able to be employed. Um, and he's starting to be accused, and all this stuff, and it's all really good, and it all kind of comes to a very interesting climax, very sort of unexpected, but like in hindsight you kind of think, oh, I should have saw that coming, kind of climax. At the same time, maybe one thing that the movie kind of belittles us as the audience in a way of doing it is that like they like do these like little flashbacks, like once we come to a realization at the very very end, it's like, okay, yeah, we got it, we didn't need the flashbacks, but other than that, that's fine. Definitely the huge highlight of this movie is J.K. Simmons. I mean, he is great. Like he's barely in the movie. Like he comes like in the last act, but he's this like alien investigator guy who kind of tells them what the deal is basically, and the role is like so dark and so unlike what we've seen from him up to that time. Like now we have like his Oscar-winning role in Whiplash. But before that, we see Juno, the understanding father. We see Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson. So we don't like really expect this type of role from him, but he kills it. And I think a movie like this, whether it is like Alien Activity, whether it is something paranormal, whether it is something spiritual, like we have these key characters. We have like the Zelda Rubinstein character from Poltergeist. We have the Father Merrin from The Exorcist. Dr. Loomis from Halloween. We have these core, very important characters, these supporting characters that kind of guide us through the action of what's going on, and they have to sell it. They have to be convincing, both to the characters and to us as the audience. I mean, that's the key part. And I think without J.K. Simmons, I think this movie would be a little less memorable. But altogether, I think this is one of the better horror movies of recent years. Maybe it's a bias because I find alien kind of stuff pretty creepy. And they do show they're smart in not giving away too much. Like if you think of something like Signs, how by the end of the movie they kind of give away what the aliens look like, and we see them a fair deal. This is even less than Signs, so I'll say that they do reveal the aliens without giving away too much, but it all relies on kind of the tension and just the turbulent kind of domestic situation of the family, and that's what we find compelling. I mean, this could be kind of a compelling movie without the alien involvement. They're interesting characters and they're well acted. I think Kerry Russell in particular is really really good in this movie. Even like when you look at something like a scene that could have been so goofy, like when she is at a showing at one of the houses, she just kind of goes cold. She freezes up basically, and then she turns towards the window and like smashes her head into it. That could have been completely ridiculous, and it sort of is, but I think she sells it really well. So I think it's a really good movie, and I'd actually really like to see a sequel to this movie, kind of following not like a different kind of situation, but following the same family and seeing kind of where the story continues. I'd really like to see that. But you never know, it could be in a couple of years. So that's my review. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe. Check out my other 31 Days of Horror reviews. I'll put links below. And until next time, I'll see you later.